Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. It is an absolutely fantabulous Thursday here in the studio as I record. So grateful, appreciative, all the things to be here. It's an honor. And today we shall talk about the fear of failure. This was brought to my attention as the podcast message offering share that was meant to be shared today through the lovely Samantha Lotus, who's a friend of mine, who was actually going to co-host a while back, and we didn't quite align at the time, and said, well, let's do it at another point. That was a few weeks ago, and then she shared a Facebook post today, and I checked it out, and I'm like, yes, this is the thing that wants to be shared, and yeah. So going to jump right into that here in a few minutes and share not only Samantha's Facebook post, her audio from the video, but of course, break it down, discuss all of those things. So it's sort of like a virtual co-host, if you will. So glad that this is happening exactly as it should, when it should, in the way, as is so many things in our life, right? We plan. If you can always make your plans with the understanding that to be altered perhaps by the universe in some other way, in some other time. And that's sort of what happened here, right? We're gonna do a show together, and now we are in a totally different way. And not to say we won't do one again with her actually on as a co-host. I plan to do that, but with very loose planning, right? As with everything in my life these days, let's see how it unfolds. How does it flow? There may be a better way. Like today's going to be epic. I can already feel it. I already know it. It's already happened. So before I dive in a little bit further down the rabbit hole of the fear of failure, I would like to take a moment to read a review on iTunes. You guys know I love my iTunes reviews. Not only do they help us to reach new people, but they certainly help to fuel my fire to continue this labor of love. So yeah, if you haven't done so, I would love it if you did. We're getting really close to 1,000 reviews on iTunes. So those of you who've been thinking for a while, I think we're in the 960s. So that'd be awesome, epic to get a push before the end of the year and just see it cross. It's an arbitrary whatever, it just changes to 1,000, whatever. But it's kind of cool. It's like my son. He's just so caught up in games and leveling up. Everything that he does is looked at like a game. So maybe there's some of that. He might have got some of that from me. It'll be cool to cross into 1,000. So yeah, if you haven't reviewed on iTunes, please take a moment to do so. This one came in by Dancing Diana. Just more serendipity. Hi, Brandon. I wanted to share with you because it's a serendipitous story that your podcast plays a role in. Last month, I started my yoga teacher training program, something I've been working up for years. In the beginning of the training, we're given a book with mantras. My teacher shared that usually one mantra calls to you. You'll know it's the mantra for you because it will come along with coincidences and serendipitous happenings. The other day, I was randomly drawn to use a certain mantra in my morning practice. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. I might be saying it wrong, but reading it to the best of my ability, I haven't heard it said out loud. Okay. It's a mantra to Ganesha. It's symbolic of new beginnings and removing obstacles. And there is a synchronicity for today, my friends, because someone just posted about Ganesha, and this episode is about beginning and is about removing obstacles, the fear of failure. So, so cool. So cool. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But how often now are the reviews that are just come up in queue serendipitous themselves, synchronistic themselves? And here's like multi-layered synchronicity. It just keeps unfolding. It's so beautiful. Okay, let me continue reading. I get excited. Back to Dancing Diana. She said, I was blown away when I discovered that this was the meaning because for the last few months, I have been really focused on realigning myself. Basically, I manifested myself into a situation which has turned out to be less than ideal. I've been really focused on and aware of my efforts to get back on track, to manifest new, to realign myself. And of course, the mantra I'm randomly drawn to do with this realigning, removing obstacles and starting new, is all about that. An hour after that practice, I begin my drive to work. I very randomly put on episode 680 with Lindsay and Connor. Oh, love Lindsay and Connor. At the end, Lindsay recommends Remember Jah by Satsang, a song. I squealed out loud because last summer I listened to that song on repeat. I loved it that much. However, what I hadn't realized last summer was that song begins by chanting Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, the same mantra to Ganesh that I had just been meditating on. Another fun detail is that a year and a half ago, I met a wood carver in Nepal and bought a Ganesha carving from him. A few weeks into that trip, I was in a car accident, got out without injury, even though others didn't, and later was almost trampled by a wild elephant. The safari guide screamed for us to run, then took off running himself. After those two incidents, I found out that Ganesha is the protector of travelers. So basically, Ganesha has been playing a beautiful role in my life since before I knew it, and now keeps popping into my life. Thank you for creating the space that you do with your podcast. Wow. So this is magical. You guys have probably heard me tell the Ganesha story where I was meditating on Ganesha years ago and trying to connect with Ganesha, attempting to connect with Ganesha. Nothing particular happened. The next morning, my son told me about his very vivid dream where he walked into a cave and there's a man with an elephant head with wild, powerful eyes that winked at him and he woke up. So that's a story I've shared a few times on the show. And I definitely feel very drawn to Ganesha as well. There's a tapestry in my house. And so funny enough, so just a bit ago, I had posted a funny meme, in the Positive Heads Facebook group, which, by the way, if you're not there, we'd love to see you there. Great place to connect with other listeners, ask questions, etc. But it's funny picture that I posted, and it's like a guy pointing a finger at like what looks like a Buddha type, and he's like, "What is the secret to everlasting happiness?" And the guy said, "To not argue with fools." And then the angry guy goes, "But I don't agree with you." And then the Buddha guy is like, "Yes, you are right." Anyway, I posted that and people started commenting. I got into a conversation with Nick Friedman kind of back and forth, and he said he just out of nowhere just wrote me just out of curiosity, and it was totally a side tangent. I guess I didn't even really need to read the meme because it was a total side tangent what Nick wrote. He wrote, "Just out of curiosity, Brandon, are you also experiencing the numerological 5 synchronicities and the Ganesha appearances or prominence in your reality tunnel?" Question. And then I just wrote back, this is just like an hour ago. I saw 555 yesterday, and Ganesha is definitely in my tunnel. Just thinking about how much I love Ganesha. So here we are, and it comes up, of course. We see you, Ganesh. Thank you for being here. Thank you for playing in this reality tunnel, as Nick put it. I like that. And now we're going to move into the next phase of today's synchronistical, magical, unfolding share. And that is removing those obstacles, right? And the god of luck, also Ganesha, known as the remover of obstacles or the god of luck. Let's pull in some more of that energy and talk about fear. And I think just what I'll do starting right off at the top this time is just playing this clip from Samantha Lotus on fear. I actually shared it in the Facebook group as well, the Positive Heads Facebook group, if you want to see it there. But let's take a listen to Samantha.
What are you most afraid of? What are you most afraid of? What is your biggest fear? I used to lie to myself and I said that I'm not really afraid of anything. Death, whatever, there's an afterlife. Travel by myself, I can do it. You know, doing all of the things, being all of the things, going out and being a badass. Like, yeah, I'm not afraid of anything. Like, I'm good, I got this. And that was the biggest lie that I was telling myself. That lie that I wasn't really afraid of anything was the lie that I needed to keep myself safe. Because the truth of the matter, like the deepest truth of the matter, is that I have lived my life absolutely like shaking, terrified of failing. Like so afraid of failing in all of the ways. And over the past few weeks, being here in Australia and going to the Bridge Method with my mentors, Preston Smiles, Lexi Panos, you guys are amazing. Just diving deep into plant medicines and into introspection, realizing like I've held myself back in a lot of ways. Even the way I live my life by traveling and being nomadic and being all over the place, I live my life in many ways to protect myself from actually doing the things that I want to do to save myself from failing. And when I realized this, I did this, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. I did this across all things, with my relationships, with my career, with my location, with my friendships, with anything. I realized I'm like, wow, why is this? Like, why am I so afraid of failing? Like asking myself, what would it mean if I failed? And the answer that I got just broke my heart. But the true answer of why I've been so afraid to fail was that if I fail, I actually prove to myself that I'm not good enough. If I let myself fail, if I go and I actually try and it doesn't work, I prove to myself what I felt deep down inside was that I wasn't good enough. And when I had that realization, I was like, wow, I sabotage myself in so many ways because I'm trying to not prove to myself that how I actually feel. And so I put protection in all of these ways and do all of these things to protect myself from that. And that fear of failure, that protection against realizing that I'm not good enough, has been the one thing that's been holding me back. The fear of failing, me being in the way, has been the one thing that has held me back from actually accomplishing the things that I desire the most in my life. And so who here has done that? Who here is afraid of failing? Like, is it just me? Is anyone else afraid of failing? Let me know if you're afraid of failing too. Because it might be irrational, it might just be me, but the fear of putting myself out there truly and going after what I want and potentially failing and then realizing I'm not good enough, that has me scared shitless. Like that freaks me out. It's freaked me out forever, and so I've just avoided it. Like, I've avoided it all. And so I'll let you know what those three things are. Like the three things that I've wanted most, the three things that my heart has always wanted most since I was a little girl and still to this day. The three things, the first thing is to have a happy and stable home. I grew up with all of the craziness and the chaos and in a very tumultuous home environment. And throughout my entire life, I've had that. I haven't really found and created a stable home for myself. And so committing to a home scares the shit out of me because every time I've done it, I've been abused, I've been neglected, I've been abandoned, all of the stories of victimhood. And yet that's been the pattern, that I am not able, my story is I'm not able to have a healthy, stable home. And so, fine, I'm not gonna live anywhere. I'm gonna be a digital nomad. Fuck you, home, right? That's what my response was, rejecting things so that they wouldn't reject me. It's easy, it's great, it's fun, and it seems glamorous, and yet the truth is that I'm scared shitless of having a home or committing to a home because of my patterning. But that's the first thing I've always wanted. I just want a happy, stable home. A place where I can focus and feel safe, like a little nest where I just feel like there's one place in the world that I'm okay in, that I can just retreat to. The second thing is to feel that I belong somewhere, to feel seen and heard and understood and connected and loved. Like, that's what I've always wanted. I've gone through challenges my whole life with not feeling loved, being abandoned by my dad, or not feeling like I fit in certain places, or being neglected or let go of, or having, friend groups, like the drama and all of the things, moving around a lot with my family. I never really felt like I belonged. I always felt like I was an outsider. I always felt weird. I always felt anxious that I wasn't supposed to be there. And even that resonated with me being on the planet. I was like, I don't know if I'm really supposed to be here. I think like I got dropped off on the wrong planet. And that pain of not feeling like I belong, that's something that has been really challenging for me for a really long time. And so my second deepest desire is just to feel like I freaking belong. Like, I just want to feel that. I want to feel connected. I want to feel loved. And what I realized is that because that's my biggest pain, I put that responsibility on everybody else. So I sought for it outside of myself. I searched the whole planet to feel like I was connecting, to feel like I had a community, to feel like I was loved and understood. And yet I realized that I wasn't doing that for myself. I didn't feel like I belonged here. I didn't feel like I belonged in my body. I wasn't listening or hearing myself. I wasn't looking at myself. I was neglecting myself. I wasn't connected to my intuition. I was sourcing all of my self-knowingness from outside sources, from relationships, from people, from books, from programs, all of the things. And so I outsourced that feeling because I was so afraid of actually insourcing it, because I didn't know that I'd be able to. So again, that fear of failing comes back. Now, the third thing I've desired more than anything else, first, the happy home, second, feeling like I belong. The third thing is to help others. To help others feel like they belong here, like they're seen, like they're heard, like they're important, like they're valued. Like, when I look at myself as a little girl growing up, it kind of breaks my heart to think about the millions and billions of people that feel that way, that are just under so much pressure and emotional, tumultuous experiences, and like they don't belong. And, recognizing that millions of people are killing themselves every day, like the rampant depression, the dis-ease, the illness, the separation, the polarity, like all of this, I truly believe is because people don't feel like they belong. They don't feel connected. They don't feel seen or heard or loved, or like they have a purpose here on this planet. And I know I felt that way my whole life. And so to heal that within myself, and then to share that message with others that, you do belong here. And the way I've always wanted to do that was partly what I am doing, but at a bigger scale, to give the presentations, to do more of the workshops, to travel the world, to have a TV show sharing these stories, and to write a book. And yet I've never fully committed to any of that, because I asked myself, well, what if I put all of that out there and then nobody read it, or nobody showed up, or nobody cared, or I sounded stupid? Well, again, that fear of like, oh my God, well, what if the one thing I actually feel purposeful and passionate about isn't important to anyone else? So I held myself back from all of those things. And over the past few weeks, I really had the opportunity to look at that, to truly look at this pattern of self-sabotage based on this program of not good enoughness. That's what's hidden for me underneath the fear of failure. And then being aware of this, recognizing like how this shows up in my life, asking myself, is this effective for me? Is this something I'd like to carry through in the next iteration of my evolution? And the answer is no. I'm grateful that I've had this, because it's given me a lot of experiences. It's enabled me to travel the world. I'm in Australia right now, running from the potential of fearing and failing of building a home. And it's allowed me to experience magic. And so I'm grateful for this fear and this program. And yet my true desires now to build the home, to feel connected, and to really do my soul's work is the most imminent, pressing, potent feeling and call of my heart. And I recognize that the only way I'll be able to accomplish that is through rewriting this pattern. It's through reprogramming my operating system and removing that fear of failure and that pattern that I'm not good enough. And so, like, I'm scared shitless right now. I'm like shaking talking about this because this feels super vulnerable for me. And it also calls me to a bigger game. Now that I've put this out publicly, and maybe there's going to be 5 people that see it, and maybe there's going to be 500 people that see it, I don't know. And yet putting this out there is just my declaration to the universe that I'm done living my life through fear, And I'm ready to truly face what is being called, what I'm being called forth into an evolution, into a new iteration, into courage, into faith, into surrender, into trust, into believing the medicine that I speak to others, that the universe truly has my back because I am the universe. You are the universe. We are co-creating the universe as it's co-creating us. And so if that's true, what is possible? And so just allowing myself to play with that and allowing myself to really take my own medicine and to believe in the things that I say, that we are the infinite creators of a universe. We are lifestyle alchemists. We are reality architects. And if anything is possible, then what is it that we desire? And what's in the way? And removing those things and really being in alignment with the divine assignment of your heart and your soul and your mission. And so this is kind of my declaration that I'm ready to step into that. And my invitation for anyone else that maybe is like me, that has had a fear of failure, or a program that they're not good enough, or that they don't belong, or that they're not connected or seen or heard, to recognize that that's probably not true. That's probably a program or a socialization or a paradigm that was put upon you that's not effective for moving forward in your life. And so if you want to join me and let go of those old programs, I'd be super happy to have you alongside me in this new evolution. Yeah, it feels good. It feels good to get that off my chest. So I'm excited. I'm stoked. Thanks for watching this. I hope this maybe inspired you. I inspired myself, and I've made some big decisions in reworking the patterning and really facing my fears. And so I booked a flight somewhere on Sunday, and I feel like I'm going to do another Facebook Live, probably from the airport, just sharing what's come up for me. And so thank you so much for being with me on this journey. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm so grateful for you. Mwah.
Before we continue on with today's episode, for those of you interested in getting more fantastic fungi in your life, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about a friend of mine's brand new company, The Great Mother. Recently, I have been drinking The Great Mother's superfood mushroom coffee alternative called Ritual, as well as regularly taking their awesome Ally microdoses, and I am truly loving both. As you probably know, these days, many of the world's highest achievers and performers swear by microdosing. The problem is it can still be difficult to get a hold of magic mushrooms. That's why when my friend reached out, who lives in an area and country where legalization is not a problem like it was in the past, and said he'd be willing to offer microdoses to my listeners, I wanted to pass the word along. Ally microdoses are 100% organic. And in addition to a small amount of the magic active ingredient, they also contain functional mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, and other brain boosters like bacopa. Ally is essentially a full spectrum nootropic. And of course, the coffee alternative Ritual doesn't contain magic mushrooms, but it has an array of the best organic functional mushrooms in the world. And, with functional mushrooms, it's really important to get them from the highest integrity sources. And whereas some other highly popular mushroom coffee alternatives on the market only contain a few varieties of functional mushrooms in their actual ingredients, Ritual has 7. Not only does it contain more types, it also contains 3 to 4 times the amount that the big brands have in each serving. And it tastes amazing. I actually like to have it on its own, as well as mixing it into my coffee sometimes as well. However, since this is definitely a unique offering, there are a few steps. First, just reach out and request to follow the private page, thegreat.mother on Instagram. Once you've been accepted to follow, just message what you're interested in getting and someone will get back to you. So what an incredible, powerful, vulnerable, insightful share. You know what's great about being so vulnerable like this is it just opens you up completely so people can connect with you, because we're all reflections of each other. So many people are going to now see and hear what Samantha stepped into her fear, right? Her fear of putting herself out there, and people, that was one of her 3 big fears, right? People not really receiving her message, her desire to help. right? It's one of the things I sort of faced when I started this podcast. And I moved into a place of, you know what? If one person enjoys it, then that's enough. And I already know that'll happen because it'll help me. It'll inspire. As I always say, we teach best what we most need to learn. I'm inspiring myself here. And so she did that. And now here it is. It's going out on this broadcast. It's going to go to thousands and thousands of people. Right. And I love all the wisdom she shared here. You can see why I was excited to have her co-host. She's an inspiration indeed. Don't lie to yourself to keep yourself safe. What would it mean if you did fail, right? And she told a story, right, based off of her history, that it would prove that she wasn't good enough. Well, that's a story. That's a lie, right? And she's become self-aware enough to see that. And isn't it interesting how you can, if you really go back to your childhood, you can look to where a lot of these stories came from. They were either given to us or through circumstances. She had, a home where she was abused. So that turned into the story of she needed to move around a lot. And moving around as a child, she didn't feel like she belonged because she was never rooted that long. So it turned into the story of, this deep need to sort of overcompensate, right? When meanwhile, she is completely, utterly enough. And obviously she's come to realize that. She wanted to help others. That was the other one. And, this idea of rejecting things so that they don't reject me. How many of us can relate to that? I've seen that so many times where it's just like so self-sabotaging. I've done it. And now my aim is to really, really be vulnerable. And it pushes us to our limit, right? It is, it causes us to really step out there and be willing to put ourselves out there and to admit if we're wrong or when we're not acting from love. And it is, this is the growth edge. And I so applaud Samantha for doing it. It sounds like she's working over there with Preston Smiles, she mentioned, who was actually on episode 697. Highly recommend checking that episode out if you haven't. He is definitely an inspiration as well. Just to throw that out, lest I forget. But yeah, failing is actually, so the problem with this whole idea of failure being bad is completely incorrect. Like, actually, failing, you either win or you learn, right? Fail fast and fail often. I think I saw, who did I see saying that? Might have been Will Smith or someone. I don't know, but I like it. I've never been afraid to really fail. And I failed a lot. Before I had a success as an entrepreneur, I had failed so many times trying things. When I was living on my friend's couch, mid-30s, not having lots and lots of failures. There's probably so many people would have said, yep, Brandon's a loser. He can't make it. He has lots of ideas and none of them work. I believed in myself in that moment on that couch. I knew who and what I was. It actually gave me the opportunity to reach deep down and to taste and feel and own my divinity, not because of some external circumstance, but because, and actually the fact that quote unquote failures were there, created the right conditions for me to really dig down deep and say, no, I am worthy. I am capable. What is the Chinese parable? It's like fall down. The wise man falls down 7 times and gets up 8 or something like that. Right. So that's where I was at that time. And lo and behold, from that energy, that digging down deep and really getting in touch with who and what I was and what I am and what I knew, I was able to rise with no startup capital, no nothing, create a company that went on to be Inc. 569th fastest growing private company in the U.S. a few years later from nothing. What 1 in 10,000 entrepreneurs does. Not because I'm smarter or better or anything than any one of you, because I really, really got that I was not defined by my conditions. And actually, the fact that I failed was a gift because I learned every single time, right? Have you ever heard the story of Walt Disney? Highly recommend checking that one out. There's a documentary or something on it I saw a few years ago. He went bankrupt like a bunch of times, over 5 times, I think, 7 times, something crazy. Do you think anyone believed in that guy on the 7th bankruptcy? If that's what it was. I can't remember the exact number, but heck no, but he did. And what did he do? He Lest you become like a child, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven. My favorite and probably the only Bible verse I quote regularly. It's so powerful. He's childlike in his wonder and belief and joy and stepping into his fears and continuing to bring that childlike wonder. And now look what that ripple of impact has been. Tony Robbins, when I saw him years ago, said, he talked about the famous quote, "The only thing to fear is fear itself." And he actually took it a step further. He goes, actually, I believe it's more like this. The only thing to fear is the fear of fear. Right? So when you can be okay with those fears, when you actually have fears coming up and excitement is there as well, if it scares you and it excites you, that's a ding, ding, ding. That's your path. If it excites you and it scares you, that is where your path lies, I believe. Lean into that. Step forward into that. Vulnerability is your superpower, like Samantha's proven here. Look at her declaration to the universe that she made. It's so powerful at the end. I wrote it down. It is summarizing the truth of the situation, the nature of the reality, the situation in which you find yourself. This is what's going on. You are a lifestyle alchemist. You are a reality architect. Be in alignment with the divine assignment of your heart and your soul and your mission. Be fearless. You do not want to get to the other side and think, wow, I sat on the sidelines because of fear. You guys, I've said it before, fear, F-E-A-R, forget everything and run, face everything and rise. We're all here to face it and rise. This is the path. This is the game. This is what we set up. You're doing it. You're inspired. You're inspiring others. With each and every one of us that steps in, leans into these things that we're scared of, that we know are our path, each one of us, we make it that much easier for the next and the next and the next. Someone in her video chat, someone named Mario wrote, fail is engaged to future. I suggest being present and kind with consciousness and good intentions, and then take action in the presence. Intention action materialization. I love that. Fail is engaged to the future. It's a concept that doesn't mean anything. Like, we've told so many stories around this idea of failure, and our whole life has been rearranged to prevent this thing that doesn't even exist. Be here now, be in the present, your gift, right? And know who and what you are. Know that you are divine, eternal divine being, incarnated, who has given yourself amnesia so that you could have the experience of remembering, waking up and letting in, turning on the nozzle, turning on the valve to allow more of your innate power in. And that's what you're doing right now. As you understand this, as you're grounding this in even further, that you cannot fail. It's impossible. That's a beautiful thing to know and to step forward into today and every day. This has been such a pleasure, such an honor. And of course, I went to look for a song that I would play today. And, I've got hundreds of artists that are licensed now. So a lot of times it's like, okay, intuitively, what song should I play? Okay, let me look up this artist. Jumps out at me. And today, Wookie Foot, I pulled up right away. First thing I pulled up, and the first song that was listed there, or if there's 5 recommended songs, was Be Fearless and Play. So, yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to play that one. We're going to be fearless and play. As it says at the top of the song, light of sun in the sky sends the message. Be fearless and play. Until next time, journey well. Love you all so, so much.
Light of sun in the sky sends the message. Be fearless and play.
These are no more times, my friend. I could see the storm clouds gathering. Try to close your eyes to the ignorance and lies, but it still feels like a heavy load. Greed and fear are the seeds that appear to have taken root through our garden right here. These sights and sounds were dragging me down, so I went out upon the road. I went across the ocean out to Thailand and Cambodia, up to Kathmandu, Sri Lanka, through Tibet and down to India. And up on a hill in Rishikesh, I came across a holy man with shining eyes and lips, smiling, grinning. This is what he said: nothing so tall we can't climb over. There's nothing so wide we cannot cross. No. The time has come to raise your voices. The light burns brightest when all hope seems lost. Be fearless and play. Be fearless and play now. Even though we never seem to have it all together, still I know when it's all together we could have it all, yeah. Be fearless and play, yeah. Be fearless and play, my friends. You can live for tomorrow and still live here in today.
Be fearless and play. Be fearless and play.
I would play when I was a child. I swore that I would never forget, no. When I would play when I was a child, I swore that I would never forget, no. I will never forget, no. I will never forget, no. Say I will never forget, no. I will never forget, no. I went across the ocean out to Thailand and Cambodia, up to Kathmandu, Sri Lanka, through Tibet and down to India. And up on a hill in Rishikesh, I came across a holy man with shining eyes and lips, smiling, grinning. This is what he said: nothing so tall we can't climb over. There's nothing so wide we cannot cross. No. The time has come to raise your voices. The light burns brightest when our hope seems lost in the dream. Wake your memory you had as a child. Oh, wow, let me hear you scream. Be fearless and play. Be fearless and play now. Even though we never seem to have it all together, still I know when it's all together we could have it all, yeah. Be fearless and play, yeah. Be fearless and play, my friends. You can live for tomorrow and still live here in today.